Welcome back to Game Day Recaps, taking you straight to Highmark Stadium. Bills Bengals. Joe Burrow 2-0 against Josh Allen, but not undefeated against Christian Benford. First Bills player ever with defensive touchdowns in 2 straight games. He takes that one all the way back. So the Bengals go from leading 28-25. Now the Bills with their first lead of the game. Very next series, first play, and Joe Burrow's picked off again. So Joe Burrow, see you later. Offense goes out. Here come the Bills, leading 32-28, and Josh Allen just doing Josh Allen things. Finds his man. The Bills go up 39-28. They would hold on to win it 39-34. And Josh Allen, undefeated. Not undefeated. What's the opposite of undefeated? He finally beat Joe Burrow is the point that I was trying to make.
Winless against Joe Burrow.
That's the word I was looking for. Winless. I couldn't find it. Josh Allen gets his first win against Joe Burrow. It's 39-34. The Bills also clinched their 7th straight winning season. Josh Allen just keeps doing it, but this time it felt different. It was a 21-point deficit, and then things just started falling in their favor. Jason, when you look at what the Bills were able to do, how did they overcome that deficit?
Yeah, I just thought they stuck to the game plan no matter what the game looked like. You know, I think rushing, there were 29 carries, 183 yards, a touchdown. James Cook played well, obviously outside of the fumbles. But, I mean, Josh Allen is the story of the game. What he's able to do with his legs, the way he's able to extend plays, he always makes the right plays. He takes care of the football. I mean, he looks like LeBron on the Cavaliers right now, like with the things that he's doing. He makes everybody around him better. So I think kudos to Josh. I mean, the Bills, you look at a game like this, it's a snow game, and I mean, the Bengals barely ran the football. I mean, you go into a snow game, you think you're going to see smash mouth, physical ball, and it didn't matter what it looked like. The Bengals were just going to be pass happy, pass happy, pass happy. And it worked for some time, but the reality is when those 2 picks happened back to back, it took all of the air out of the Bengals in that offense, and they just couldn't recover.
Listen, I'm going to keep this very brief so I can push it over to Pete because I know he has a lot to say about this and Josh Allen's performance. Like you said, Haley, Josh Allen was just doing Josh Allen things. And this offense has to run through him. I don't care who's at receiver or who's in the backfield. This whole offense needs to run through him. But then talking about Joe Burrow, as great as he is, right, the ultimate competitor, great quarterback, gives you a chance to win every week. One of the knocks on him coming out of college was he had small hands. And I think on that first pick that you saw, it's like he couldn't grip it, and then he just pushed it through. Then that was ended up being an interception to Christian Benford, and then the second was just a tip. And we always talk about tips and overthrows. You got to get those. Yep. And so that's just what happened. But I'm going to toss it over to Pete.
One quick thing on that. You know, sometimes on those quick throws, the guys don't even get the laces. They just try and throw it. Mm-hmm. And it looked like it just slipped out of his hand. Do you think that was from the small hands? Because he was throwing the ball well all day today. I don't think he ever got the laces. And you know, when you get the quick throw, you get get the laces. So I think that's what impacted him on that play. You know, you go back to the Bills. What did you say? This offense needs to do what?
It needs to flow through Josh Allen.
Can you clip that and send that to Leger, please? Can you please? Because Leger does not believe that. When we see it week in and week out, it has to be Josh Allen. It's all about him. Let him do his thing. And you know, we talked about, you said he did his thing. Throwing that touchdown was great. The run. I mean, he ran 40 yards for a touchdown when nobody touched him. They had their back turned to him. They were all man coverage. That doesn't happen in the NFL. Everything this team does going forward has to be about Josh Allen. Look, maybe he turns the ball over once or twice. So what? Would you rather have 4 total touchdowns from him and 2 turnovers or 115 yards and you ran the ball and got 16 points? The bottom line is they're not good enough on defense. They need to turn it to him and let him go.
That rush, by the way, was 40 yards. That was the longest rush by a quarterback in Bills history. And he just, like you said, he went unopened. They didn't pay attention to him. Yeah, he's also the first player all time with 3 seasons of 20-plus passing touchdowns and 10-plus touchdowns. So when we say Josh Allen doing Josh Allen things, that's what he does. I want to ask you about Sean McDermott and all of this because we haven't really talked about the coaching side of this. We kind of just pick apart, you know, Josh Allen and what he has to do to keep this team afloat. Sean McDermott picked up his 95th win. He passes John Madden and Mike McCarthy for 3rd most wins through his first 9 seasons as a career. Rand, you've spent some time hiring coaches. You've spent a lot of time in that space. What can you say about the job? Because it's not been sunshine and roses for Sean. I remember there were times when we were talking about him potentially being fired. What can you say about what he's done recently?
Haley, there you go with that word again. We don't speak French.
Oh, well, the collective
here's the thing. And you said it, 95 wins over 9 seasons. To me, simple math says that's 10 wins a year, right? And so there was some talk earlier about replacing him, firing Brandon Beane. Who are you going to move forward with? Right? Who do you expect that's out there, that's available, that's going to get you over this hump? And let's not forget, where was this franchise, what state was this franchise in when they took over? This franchise was in a dire strait, but when they stepped in, they brought culture and they brought consistency to the table. There's a certain look of a Buffalo Bill and what that looks like, and there's an identity that this team has, and a lot of that has to do with Sean McDermott and the working relationship he had with Brandon Beane going back to their days in Carolina. And so Brandon Beane understands what Sean McDermott is looking for. Now, the one area in which the Buffalo Bills have to continue to get better is just the consistency in terms of the play caller on offense. They've had some guys get head coaching jobs. They've had to move on from some guys. And so right now, I think if you were going to point to one thing, it's about getting offensive coordinator Joe Brady more consistent with how he's calling his games, because like Pete said, this thing has to flow through Josh. Whether we like it or not, it has to flow through Josh, and he gives you the best chance to win.
I mean, you couldn't have said that better. I think when you said culture and consistency, I think in the climate that we have when it comes to coaches, hiring guys, firing guys right now, I think we cannot value creating a culture any more than this. And the reason why I say that is when you have culture, you have a certain standard that belongs in your locker room. And the great thing about culture is the coaches don't even have to be around. Something can happen between the players, something can happen on the field, and real culture, the players actually correct it themselves. Now, look, there's parity in the league. There are going to be seasons where you win 12 games, where you win 10, where you win 5. But the reality is we see coaches like Pete Carroll, we see coaches like Jim Harbaugh go to teams, and we know the types of cultures they're able to establish. And obviously, as you're seeing, it is not a difficult thing to accomplish, regardless of where you go. So I think that has to be valued. And obviously, you know, when you think of the Bills, there's a certain identity when it comes to them between their fan base, the culture, the team, the way they play. Josh Allen is the embody of it. So it's an amazing thing what Sean's doing over there.
One thing that he's evolved. And having spent time around that team a lot, he's evolved as a coach. There was a rigidness about Sean McDermott early in his career. I mean, he's a former wrestler. He's that guy. He has the attitude, the chip on his shoulder, and he's evolved. He's allowed his defensive coordinator call plays, which is something he never used to do. Bob Babbage is calling the plays. And so I think there's an evolution of Sean McDermott. Sean McDermott's a good football coach, but we know how this league is. Until you get over the top, until you beat the guys at the top and win a Super Bowl, there's always going to be doubts about you.
Looking ahead, as we wrap this conversation up, the Bills are going to take on the Patriots next week. And I know we've already seen that. We already saw Drake May stand tall and get the big win. But, Rand, I'm just curious, when you look at the rest of the schedule, they got the Patriots, they got the Browns, and then the Eagles, the Jets. Starting with that Patriots game, early expectations for that matchup.
No, this is going to define who they are as a team, because we came into this, and I'm using we.
Yeah, you said we.
I'm using we.
You said
Here
we.
it is.
There you are.
Apparently we do say we.
You rip on people when they say we, but
Well, you know what?
We.
we.
Y'all said at the beginning of the season that this was a Super Bowl caliber team, and I tend to agree that the makeup of this football team was one that could get to the Super Bowl that we could see in Santa Clara playing in February. However, we hadn't seen the consistency of that. 1 week it's up, 1 week it's down. I think going against this Patriots team that's already beat you is going to be a defining moment for this football team. And we'll really see who this 2025 version of Buffalo Bills are when that game comes up next week.
Early lean to the Buffalo Bills at New England next week.
Of course, because you still got them in the Super Bowl.
Look, I think they've navigated through a ton. I mean, injuries are part of every team, but this team has been just crucified by them, and somehow, some way, they're still going to be a playoff team.
Because that quarterback's healthy.
That's exactly right.
Sunday, 1 o'clock on CBS. That is the game you want to watch. All right, time to hit a break here on Game Day Recap. Of course, the Bills beat the Steelers last week, but the Steelers bounced back in a big way to beat the Ravens in a crucial AFC North meeting. How Aaron Rodgers and Pittsburgh stay alive in that division race coming up next.